And now, our feature presentation.
What's up, Philly? We're the gang from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Let's go Flyers!
Hey everybody, it's me, Timmy Flyersguy, and welcome to this week's edition of Classic Flyers Theater with me, Timmy Flyersguy. I'm your host, Timmy Flyersguy. In today's episode, we're going to take a look back at the 79-80 Philadelphia Flyers in a really awesome highlight video of the 79-80 Philadelphia Flyers. Let's roll the footage.
We weren't expected to do much. We were relegated to bottom positions by most of the critics around. Our defense was crappy. Our forwards were aging. Or youthful and didn't have the knowledge of the game. Our goaltending was suspect. We had a bunch of guys that shared the same type of spirit. The spirit that you can't be told you can't achieve because you can't. You can't do because you don't have. We're together. We've got a great bunch of guys that can get the job done, and we're going to get it done.
This film is brought to you in part by the Pepsi-Cola bottlers of the Delaware Valley. The Philadelphia Flyers epitomize the work ethic. In a world of glamorized sport, they bring visions of the blue-collar set. With 68 undefeated regular season games to their credit and the longest unbeaten streak in professional sports history, they surprised everyone but themselves. While other teams strive for unity, the Flyers remain deeply rooted in their tradition of family. From the captain to the rookies, they play with a fervor that arises from their never-die attitude. They are not afraid to get their clothes dirty. And when the contest begins, all else is pushed aside. Flyer fans would have it no other way. But this is a team of muckers and skaters, and they're proud of their style, just as long as you remember them as Philadelphia Flyers. At the top of the Flyers family tree is Bobby Clark. Still the inspiration for a new generation of Flyers, Clark doubled this year as assistant coach. Tied for the club lead in assists, his on-ice prowess helped young players like Brian Propp, who led all rookie scorers. Brian credits his smooth transition from the juniors to number 16.
It helped me to get off to a really good start, and just playing with him and Reggie, it helped me so much because they work so hard and they're so experienced. They know their positions, and they can always tell me on the ice where to go, and they helped me to learn my position a lot better. And they told me about different players on different teams, on which guys to look out for.
Sharp-shooting Reggie Leach already knows the league, as he became the first Flyer to have two 50-goal seasons. With left winger Bill Barber working the point and captain Mel Bridgman tough in front of the net, Philadelphia remained a strong offensive threat. Paul Holmgren emerged as the Flyers' best all-round player, bringing to mind memories of Gary Dornhofer. And the Rat Patrol, anchored by center Kenny Linsman, sparked the Flyers from mid-season on. The life of a goalie can be a lonely existence, but with the acquisition of Phil Meir from St. Louis and rookie Pete Peters from Philadelphia's farm team in Maine, pucks were kept out of the net with amazing regularity. Rookie Norm Barnes, another link in the Maine connection, won the distinguished Barry Ashby Award as the Flyers' best defenseman.
Norm Barnes.
Barnes, along with the Flyers' no-name defense, helped limit the rest of the league to one of the lowest goals against average. 7 players made the All-Star team, with Reggie Leach named MVP. But Mel Bridgman knows how they really did it.
The Flyer team has always been a team of character. We've got a bunch of characters on this team, too.
Sporting their best apparel, the Flyers take to the road 40 times a season. And of those games, 31 were sellouts. An NHL record. It is a grueling schedule that sees them traveling more than any other sport. Still, dispositions must be kept light in order to survive the grind. They travel over 60,000 miles each year, winding up in locker rooms throughout unfamiliar cities across North America. This day, the team is in Buffalo, and with all the outside distractions, practice sessions can be a time to get your squad loose and thinking of hockey again. General Manager Keith Allen, who masterminded rebuilding the Flyers, watches the team as they ready for the game. Tonight, the Buffalo Sabres will be trying to do what every other club wants to do: beat the first-place team in the league. Through it all, the Flyers play together, masterfully coming back for a 1-1 tie. They are a tight-knit group, and it shows in their performance. The next morning, they rise early for a bus trip to Toronto. It is a process that continues through sunny days and blizzards alike, for there is always another game to win in another city. Through the first half of the season, the Flyers played with the pressure of a long unbeaten streak. Tonight against Pittsburgh, they could tie the all-time record of 28 games without a loss.
Yeah, they're going to keep going for about 35 or 40.
Yes, sir. We're right behind them.
Flyers have the heart, they have the team to do it. They've been all the way this year.
The Penguins got an early 1-0 lead, putting the streak in jeopardy. But defenseman Ben Wilson took a goal-mouth feed and scored. With only minutes left in the contest, the Flyers had dramatically tied the game and the record. Now the Canadians would have to share their achievement with the boys from Broad Street.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers have tied the National Hockey League record. 28 games in a row without a defeat.
The Flyers had their 28-game unbeaten streak intact. To break the record, they would now have to play the Bruins in Boston's treacherous garden. With a capacity crowd of hungry lunch pailers on hand, Boston wanted nothing better than to end the streak. As always, the Flyers and Bruins waged all-out war. Only this time, Philadelphia refused to lose the battle. The Flyers had done it. With a 5-2 win, they established the longest undefeated streak in the history of professional hockey. And with it, immortality. Even Boston fans had to salute such an awesome accomplishment. Philadelphia would extend that record to 35 games, and no team in any professional sport had ever done that.
Good game, boys. Damn it, that's the way, boys. Hard work. Came a long way, boys. Way to go, Bobby Clark.
Bill Barber knew the rewards were justly earned.
We deserve what we've got so far. Everybody's been playing really well, and we've been sticking together and helping one another out and working hard, and it's been paying off.
Even though the streak ended, the hard work continued. At the Spectrum, this time in another tough game with Boston, less than 1 minute left and down by 2 goals, the Flyers had to pull their goaler. This is how we described it on television.
Wilson in front, kicked away, Wilson in front again, Leach scores! 29 seconds left in the game. They're still alive. Wide to the right, Miller will have a shot at the open net. Deflected wide behind by Brian Klopp with 25 seconds left in the game. Puck into center. McLeish, he's got Leach breaking on the far side to the Bruin net. He goes to shoot. Save, Leach scores! McLeish scores! That's incredible, Gene. What a comeback. Holy man. Incredible comeback as the Flyers trailing 3-1. With less than a minute remaining in the game, score at 19-11 Leach and score at 19-44 McLeish. Final score, the Flyers 3, the Bruins 3.
It was games such as this one throughout the season that made Philadelphia supporters truly appreciate their Flyers. On St. Patrick's Day, Flyer followers held a banquet in honor of their team. Coach Pat Quinn was awarded a trip to Ireland by the fan club.
On St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 1980. Patrick?
Listening to his words, it was easy to see why he loved being in Philadelphia.
I believe in the fans. They're what it's all about. The fan clubs. Until I was here in Philadelphia, I had never experienced this type of support anywhere. Here's a bunch of guys that haven't had a night off, but they thought enough about you to come here and give you a night when they've played maybe 15 games in the last 25 nights. And that tells me something about this group of guys here. And it tells me something about you too, so.
Captain Mel Bridgman was up next, and he had some choice words about his 2 coaches.
Hi, Pat. The recent brawl in Vancouver, where unfortunately Pat was suspended, everyone thought Brian O'Neill was the only one that was mad at Pat. There's also 3 other players. There was 3 of us that were all safe and sound in the penalty box until he waved us out into the fight. Also, Bobby's just bought a 4-wheel Eagle, as he should be flying high with the new purchase. But how high can you fly with 10 goals? I'm going to pay for this tomorrow.
Though most of the Flyers are originally from Canada, they are involved in this community, many making their homes in the area.
I want Bobby Clark to score more goals and stop Pat's defense.
Finally, the Flyer wives sang a tribute to Pat Quinn, leader of their hard-working husbands.
Smiling sure is like a morning spring in the lilt of Irish laughter. You can hear the angels sing when Irish eyes are happy. All the world seems bright and gay, and when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they feel
early Cup years, they had been the Broad Street Bullies. But this new Flyers team also put speed and finesse on their side. They'd need it in the first round of the playoffs if they were to stop Edmonton and their 19-year-old sensation, Wayne Gretzky. If Philadelphia had thoughts of a runaway, they were quickly put to rest as the upstart Oilers dug deep into their well of reserves, trying to derail the Flyers. The Flyers put a playoff record 51 shots on goal. But Edmonton staved off the onslaught and went into the final minutes of the game leading 3-2. As a stunned Spectrum crowd watched the game pass into its final minute, Rick McClay sent a 30-foot wrist shot sailing into the net. As they had done so many times during the regular season, the Flyers had miraculously come back. Then in the 8th minute of overtime, the ever-present Bobby Clark deflected the winning goal off goaler Ron Lode's pad. Philadelphia went on to sweep the series in 3 hard-fought games, the last ending in double overtime, and Bill Barber knew the Flyers needed this shot in the arm.
The series against Edmonton was a tough series, and if we weren't ready to play for that series, we would have been in trouble. And it was good. We had good goaltending. They had great goaltending also, and we still won. So I'm looking forward to this upcoming series.
With the Rangers waiting in the wings, the Flyers went back to practice. This season, head coach Pat Quinn installed a more wide-open system that was better suited to the talent he had. During his 8 years as a defenseman in the NHL, Pat often played the tougher scorers on the opposition, and the knowledge he acquired enabled him to pass his wisdom on to his players.
And I don't care where, if you put your stick down, just put her down. If you're going to try to shoot, that alone is not going to get a shot off.
What has Pat Quinn brought to the Flyers this year?
I think, as well as bringing some of those players from Maine that have done an outstanding job here, you know, Pat's, he's worked at our system, he's worked and helped each one of us individually. He's very dedicated, and I think his dedication, the way he works, carries over to us.
If you can come back into the zone and while he stopped, get a good hit on him, especially early in the series, maybe it might wake him up a little bit as far as stopping and pulling that particular play off.
In his first full year as head coach, Quinn was presented with the Adams Award as the NHL's Coach of the Year.
Being from outside the organization, and I believe you could ask players throughout the league, if there was one organization that typified the word team, they'd probably say the Flyers.
The trick is, we don't want to...
His hard work had paid off, but now the Rangers loomed dead ahead.
Because that's how we're going to beat them.
Yeah, definitely.
It would be a rematch of last year's quarterfinals, but this year's Flyers were prepared to avenge last season's rout. Philadelphia entered the series with surprises in mind for Fred Shiro and his blue shirts from Broadway. Mel Bridgman was called on to shadow the great Phil Esposito, and no matter where Espo skated, Mel was right on top of him. Meanwhile, the Flyers barraged the Ranger net with goal after goal. In a complete reversal of last year's playoffs, Philadelphia romped 4-1 and awaited the outcome of the Montreal-Minnesota matchup. Minnesota and Philadelphia would play in the semifinal round since the young North Stars had bested the Canadiens in a stunning 7-game upset. They hoped their momentum would carry over into the Spectrum, but Flyer fans knew their team was also hot. So the question remains, could the Flyers' experience extinguish Minnesota's youthful spark? The freewheeling North Stars skated to a shocking 6-5 victory in Game 1. As he had done all season, Pat Quinn alternated his goalers, and Phil Muir found himself between the pipes for the rest of the series. He responded brilliantly as the Flyers returned to their game. With the power play finally in gear, Philadelphia set a club record of 4 for the most power play goals in one game. The Flyers took many penalties themselves. The effective penalty killing squelched the North Stars' power play. Throughout the series, winger Bill Barber was sensational as he scored 4 goals in one game and tied Reg Leach's NHL record for goals in a playoff series. It had been an intriguing matchup, but again Philadelphia had conquered its foe 4-1. Flyers owner Ed Snyder felt the joy of the series victory, but there had been times during each game when everyone's pulse rate had quickened.
They were exciting, much too exciting for a coach. But that's what the series are all about, boy. It's do and die and live for the excitement of the minute. That's what good teams are made of, guys that'll muck in the corners and other guys that'll finish that play off. There's no way of speculating what might have happened if Billy didn't have the hot stick through the whole thing.
Now the time had come to meet the other semifinals winner, the New York Islanders. The Stanley Cup Finals were again back home where they belong. In keeping with his year-long game plan, Quinn switched to goaler Pete Peters, even though Phil Meir had gone 5 games undefeated in the playoffs. The game started with neither team scoring through the first half of period 1. But then a diving shot by Mel Bridgman and a helping hand from Islander Dennis Potvin gave the Flyers an unexpected present. Philadelphia took a 3-2 margin into the last period, but they could not make that lead stand up. With only minutes left in regulation time and the Isles on the power play, Bill Barber lost his stick, creating a virtual 5-on-3. With this lopsided advantage, New York slipped into the slot and lit the red light. The contest was tied, and sudden death overtime would be necessary to decide a winner between 2 teams that had played like mirror images during the regular season. Play was even in the extra stanza until Jimmy Watson was called for the first overtime penalty ever in a Cup final.
Penalty, number 20, Jimmy Watson, 2 minutes for holding.
The Islanders took advantage of the Flyers' shorthanded situation as Dennis Potvin ended the struggle. The Flyers left the ice, having lost the home ice advantage. Only 1 second had remained on Watson's penalty when the goal was scored, but 1 second in this case had proven costly. In Game 2, the Flyers came out red hot as Paul Holmgren and the Rat Patrol methodically erased any memories of the opening loss. His finest hockey of the year, Bobby Clark had 4 points on the night, putting him 3rd among all active Stanley Cup scoring leaders. With feisty Kenny Lensman fired up, the Flyers continued the rout as Lensman fed Holmgren a perfect pass for his 3rd goal in the game. Holmgren's first hat trick ever was also the first time in Cup competition that a United States-born hockey player had achieved such a feat. With an 8-3 win, the Flyers evened the series and were again ready to bid for the Stanley Cup. The series resumed 2 days later at the Nassau Coliseum for the rugged middle games 3 and 4. Both clubs were now playing the physical styles they were noted for. During the 3rd game, Paul Holmgren and blue liner Jimmy Watson both went down with injuries, and their absence was heavily felt. New York put their power play into full swing, and the Flyers could not recover. They lost both encounters on the island and trailed in the series 3-1. The Flyers had their work cut out if they were to stay alive. Philadelphia was in a corner as Game 5 shifted to the Spectrum. It would be an uphill battle, but the fans maintained their faith.
Flyers in 7, man. They're going to take it all.
Because it's destiny.
Why? Because we're the best.
You could kill them.
Of course, us.
Flyers.
It's not all over. You gotta have faith in your team. It's my team, and they're gonna win.
The Flyers' situation was critical, but the Spectrum crowd gave them an inspiring standing ovation, especially after the announcement that Holmgren and Watson would return to the lineup. The Islanders came out snarling, but the Flyers quickly curbed that behavior. Much of the credit must be given to Pete Peters, who during the season had amassed the second longest personal unbeaten streak in hockey history. Peters turned back 35 shots as the Spectrum rocked.
Let's go Flyers!
Rick McLeish's second goal of the game inspired Philadelphia to a decisive 6-3 victory and kept their fires burning for a third Stanley Cup.
We had to win tonight. We got to win Saturday night. That's all there is.
The pressure, I guess, someone has to be on them because they, you know, they've got to be thinking they've got to win on the island there, because if they don't, then they're going to be in trouble coming back here.
Played very soundly, and with this win tonight, we hope we have tightened their cheeks up a little bit.
Riding the rising tide, the Flyers went to New York for Game 6. But controversy soon set in. After Philadelphia scored the game opener, the Isles tied it up on a questionable high-stick goal. Philadelphia protested, but to no avail. A second look shows that Peter stopped an Islander shot. But on the ensuing rebound, Dennis Potvin brought his stick high into the air for the controversial goal. The bizarre occurrences continued as Clark Gillies dropped the pass back over the blue line to Butch Gorey. But linesman Leon Stickle missed the offside call, allowing play to continue. The obvious offside caused the Flyers to relax, and seconds later, the Islanders had the lead. Down 4-2 in the third period, Bobby Clark and the Flyers refused to relent. They fashioned a furious rally, started by a long Bob Daly slap shot, and capped 5 minutes later on a deflected blast that bounced off John Paddock's skate right into the net. Before 15,000 hostile fans, the Flyers had come back. Sudden death overtime would now decide the fate of these two exhausted clubs. They had played 99 games to reach this point, and now one shot could decide the fate of an entire season. Both teams had their chances through 7 minutes of extra play, neither able to score, until John Tonelli sent a perfect pass right onto the stick of Bob Nystrom, and the 1980 Stanley Cup was history. The Flyers had lost this controversial game, and with it a series that was so close, the Islanders scored but one more goal than Philadelphia. But the Flyers had proven that they would be back in '81 to challenge again.
Let's go, Bobby! Let's go, Bobby! Hit him again!
In a world of half-baked efforts, the Philadelphia Flyers achieved professional sports' longest undefeated streak and the Stanley Cup Finals for the 4th time in 7 years. To make them the team to remember. This film has been brought to you in part by the Pepsi-Cola bottlers of the Delaware Valley.